Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
And you're on the air with Power Squared. Tonight, we're going to take a look, because we have a Christmas tree behind us, at Christmas movies, and more specifically, drive-by Christmas movies.
Yes, movies where Christmas is not necessarily the central focus, but does appear at some point, or happens to take place around it.
Right. Like last year, we decided that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Even though basically it's not really, it's a story about a guy at Christmas time fighting terrorists at a Christmas party, but it's not really,
Yeah.
I guess at the end there's a happy, you feel good at the end of it because he's reunited, but yeah, it's not really, I wouldn't call it a Christmas movie per se, but it qualifies because there's even a book now the night before.
Yeah.
So it's Christmas, which brings me to Die Hard 2, which came out 2 years later, also takes place at Christmas.
Yeah.
And again, really nothing to do with Christmas per se, but just it takes place at that time.
Yeah. Now,
what got us started on this talk was the movie Red.
Yeah.
Which is really good. We really enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah.
And had a really good time.
It's also much better than the source comic.
Yeah. I was, because I remember reading the graphic novel going, this isn't in the movie.
Yeah.
But, and you don't think of it as having anything to do with Christmas, but at the very beginning of the film.
Yeah, it's Christmas.
Yeah, this would be great if we could have video clips or something. Yeah. So Christmas.
If you want to get copyright strike.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, but I'm just saying that it'd be cool if you could do that.
Yeah.
So Christmas, is it a Christmas movie?
I don't know, because Christmas is the first part of the movie just happens to take place at Christmas.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it drives by Christmas. It goes on to other adventures, and really Christmas doesn't come up anywhere else except for the very beginning.
Yeah.
But I again, if you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch Red.
Yes.
Really good. So talking about movies where Christmas is sort of drive by, there's Batman Returns.
Right.
Which I can't think of. I'm surprised they don't have little penguin ornaments for your tree.
Maybe they do.
Yeah, maybe they do. Or I'm sure they have Batman ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
But little Danny DeVito as the as the penguin. So Christmas again. Things happen at Christmas, but it's not I wouldn't call it a Christmas movie.
Not really.
Per se, but it does drive by the holiday, which is the whole point of this.
Yeah.
Blog. So. Other movies. Now, I don't honestly have a really good memory of Iron Man 3.
No.
I try to block that out, but apparently I looked up a list of movies that people thought were kind of drive-by, and that was mentioned on there because takes place at Christmas time. Again, I tried to block it out of my memory.
I think my experience with Iron Man 3 is when I was watching it in the theater, I kind of liked it, but then I wrote about it at the time, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like,
supposedly he's trying to use Christmas to sort of ingratiate himself with Pepper.
Right.
But again, I don't remember the movie very well.
I barely remember it.
So
I just remember the bit at the end where it was like all the Iron Man suits are in combat or something.
Yeah. Again, you try to block out really.
Yeah.
That was sort of one too many Iron Mans. Now, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
And it's also Harry Potter and
the Philosopher's Stone, if you're British.
Right. I guess that has a big Christmas meal.
Yes.
In there.
I kind of remember that.
Okay.
It's been years since I've seen the movie.
Right.
But I do remember they kind of hit they hit the holidays there.
Yeah, I remember when I was watching the movie kind of going, would wizards really be celebrating the birth of Christ and all that? But maybe they do. But anyway, so yeah,
Maybe they celebrate the secular version.
maybe they do. It just sort of seemed like a little. You kind of have to have a Christmas, but that break. But
Yeah.
would you really be?
I'm guessing they're just basing that off the British school system or something.
Probably. Well, most school
Like
systems.
how in Japanese media, no matter where, like in Japanese media, whenever there's a school, it's always based on the Japanese school system, even if it's not explicitly Japan.
Right. And then they have like summer. They have a different system than we do, which we're
Yeah.
not going to talk about here.
Yeah.
But I do recall it being like, what? When we watched My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also ran into that with Assassination Classroom.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of. Assassination Classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they have multiple finals? Oh, it's the Japanese school.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird for me not
Yeah.
having been Jap. I'm sure it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Normal in Japan. Okay, another movie that comes up on these lists a lot is Mean Girls, and only because there's a Christmas show where the girls are dressed up like, I don't know what they're, little Santas or whatever, and there's a big number, whatever, and so that's considered sort of a drive-by the holiday.
Right.
You remember Mean Girls?
Not really. Should probably. Maybe it's because I was younger and had a shorter attention span.
Yeah.
Maybe I should give it another shot sometime.
Yeah, and they've made a musical out of it, and then a musical of the movie of the musical.
Somehow, that does not surprise me.
Yeah. I kind of wish they would just come up with new musicals, and this is
Yeah.
not the time to talk about that either, but, kind of. A film I added to the list, which isn't really Christmas per se, but it's kind of holiday,
Yeah.
because New Year's Eve is really important in the movie, is When Harry Met Sally.
Right.
Because the climax of the movie is around them being together and realizing it on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So Christmas had to be the week before. So it kind of drove by the holidays.
In the background.
Yeah, it was there somewhere, not in the not too distant past. But I don't remember enough if they actually had anything to do with Christmas at the in the movie or not. But I do remember New Year's Eve being really important.
Right.
And I kind of think of Christmas and New Year's as kind of going hand in hand.
Yeah.
Certainly. Speaking of Billy Crystal, another movie on here I have is Running Scared, which is a cop buddy film, him and Gregory Hines.
Right.
And it takes place in Chicago, and there's a big shootout at a office building that has a big, huge Christmas tree in it. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay, but that's why it's on the list here. And actually, I like that movie better than I thought I would.
Yeah.
And they're actually a good team in the movie. But it sort of takes place in the dead of winter in Chicago, which is December usually is when people think of the dead of winter, and they want to I think they end up in Florida, living the good life at the end. But there's a kind of a big shootout around in an office building around a Christmas tree, as I recall.
Right.
So I added it to the list. Now another movie that sort of drives by the holiday is, and a lot of the lists, if you look at lists, are always like current films, or a lot of times are current. The Thin Man. You remember that? Watched that a couple years ago, I think.
Right.
He is. They're on holiday in New York visiting family and friends at Christmas.
Right.
And then this murder happens, and they sort of pull him out of retirement. He's retired because his wife is wealthy. He used to be a detective, and so they kind of bring him back in, and the whole thing kind of there's a whole scene in there where he's shooting ornaments with a little gun he got or something like that, a little pop gun or something.
Right.
So Christmas is in there. Again, it's not the primary focus of the film, but you can consider it a Christmas movie if you really, really wanted to. Another film, we'll kind of run through these pretty quickly, is The Apartment. Billy Wilder. Jack Lemmon has a crush on, I can't think of her name, sorry. Shirley MacLaine, thank you, off camera. Shirley MacLaine, and she's having an affair with Fred MacMurray, who is sort of a surprise in role for him. But anyway, it's a Billy Wilder film. Got a lot of press. I think it was Best Picture, actually, the year it came out, 1960. And on Christmas Eve, she like overdoses, and he sort of brings her back to health and has kind of the holiday with her.
Right.
So it's kind of again, the focus is not necessarily on Christmas, but Christmas does play a part in the film, an important kind of part.
Right.
A lot of times with holiday films or films that drive by Christmas, either it plays an important part at the beginning or it plays an important part in the end, or comes up at the end of the film.
Yeah.
As it does there. Another film on the list was 3 Days of the Condor, which again I know we've seen. It's Robert Redford.
I don't remember everything.
Yeah, I know, it's fine. I was trying not to put films on here that we hadn't at least seen before.
Right.
It sort of takes place again. It's not a Christmas movie, but it takes place at Christmas time. There's a lot. The soundtrack has a lot of Christmas music in it, and there's Christmas decorations all around and everything. But again, wouldn't consider it high holy, but it is. It's again, if you're looking for a movie to watch that's about Christmas, that's not Christmas, that's a good one. Now I put Babe on the list because Christmas is carnage. Is one of the lines in the film. They don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Australia, but they do celebrate Christmas, and you slaughter the goose or whatever, or the pig, which they don't do in this case. But so that's where there's a line in there about Christmas is carnage or means carnage,
right,
to the farm animals. So Christmas does they do drive by the holiday there.
Yeah. And on this list we have Little Women.
Yes, we have the 1933. It seems like every generation has a Little Women. Every 10 years they seem to make the movie again, or every 10 to 20 years. It takes. Christmas is part of the story at the very beginning. It is Christmas time, and they're putting on that. She puts on that little play and all that kind of stuff. So what? Remember that?
Yeah.
So we've seen the 1933 version. I think there's a 40s version. There's an 80s version. There's a 2000.
Yeah.
So it's one of those stories that you don't have to pay the author for. So you just keep remaking it. But it's kind of Christmas is important to the story, but it's not the primary focus of the film.
No.
Right.
Or Lethal Weapon.
Mostly.
I remember we saw Lethal Weapon.
Right. Remember there was a tree farm, a tree place. There's a big shootout or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I remember that.
Yeah, so it takes place again around the holiday.
Yeah.
Not the.
Since Christmas is part of the setting for that movie,
yes.
You might stretch it into a Christmas movie.
That's right. You can drive by and hey.
And I remember that actually wasn't a bad movie.
No, actually, yeah. I mean, for the most part, except for Iron Man 3, none of these are bad movies.
Yeah.
And there's people probably that love Iron Man 3.
Right.
There's not two of them. I put on this list, all these lists have, and I have not seen it for my own reasons, You Got Mail.
Right.
Because it's a remake of a movie, and people put this on. They put You Got Mail on the list, but it's actually a remake of Shop Around the Corner, which is a 1940s Ernest Lubitsch film, and again, it takes place at Christmas. The store, they all work out, which is it's a bit, even back in 1940, it was the big time for shopping, but it's kind of a romantic comedy set at Christmas time.
Yeah.
So again, and I love that movie. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it is.
It always makes me, I don't cry at it, but I do really enjoy watching the movie because it is really good, really well done. All the acting's really good.
Yeah. And
I would recommend that as a Christmas movie. Now, You Got Mail is there was a Good Old Summertime was a remake of the movie, putting in like Chicago in the early 1900s with music store instead of leather goods. And You Got Mail is putting it into a bookstore environment but it's slightly different. There's somebody trying to, there's competition between bookstores.
Yeah.
And so I kind of looked at it as why watch that when I could watch the original, but who knows, we may be watching You Got Mail pretty soon. So I put that on the list as if you're gonna watch the original.
Yeah.
It's really good. Another movie I added on this list, which it takes place at Christmas, and New Year's are really important to the story.
Yeah.
But a lot of people may not think about is It Happened on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Which is another really good movie from the 40s.
Yes.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Yeah. About a really, I guess, supposedly one of the richest men in the world, leaves his New York mansion to go down to Virginia during the winter when it's sort of slightly warmer down there, and this bum moves in when he's gone, and so then other people end up staying there, including the daughter of the owner.
Yeah.
And then the owner has, it's a really nice kind of comedy.
Yeah.
Again, it takes place in the winter, and again, Christmas and New Year's are both really important to the story as far as timing goes.
So you could easily watch it at Christmas.
Yes. And again, I would recommend that you do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so do you have a favorite off this list?
Off of this list that we have here, good question. Probably Die Hard, Happened on Fifth Avenue, or Shop Around the Corner.
Okay. Yeah, those are all really good. Did you like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone?
Yeah.
We have the Philosopher's Stone. It's slightly longer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just haven't watched it yet, but
It's also slightly different because it was originally Philosopher's Stone, but because of the rename of the book to Sorcerer's Stone for U.S., they also had to shoot those scenes twice. So you got slightly different takes.
I wonder why they did that.
Because I think it's something like they thought kids would think it was about philosophy or something. Like, basically, they think kids are stupid.
Yeah, or American kids are stupid.
Right.
Okay. Well, I agree. I really like Shop Around the Corner, and It Happened on Fifth Avenue, and Die Hard is fun.
Yeah. There's one more I'd want to mention.
Okay.
That I don't know if we mentioned it before. The original Toy Story. It ends at Christmas.
It does. That's a good point.
And Andy gets a dog that comes back in Toy Story 2.
That's right. Okay, good point. Yeah, there's probably, I've seen lists where there's 25 but Drive-By Christmas, and again, you can have, and they don't necessarily, in a list of 10 and the 25 don't necessarily have the same titles on them.
Yeah.
So, and you may have your own special film that you think is Drive-By the Holidays.
Yeah.
And there are probably others that we haven't seen that do Drive By the Holiday.
Yeah.
We've seen some film noirs that take place at Christmas time. We can say those. We can do another show some other time about other movies that kind of have Christmas in the background.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought this was kind of a good little. Now, most of these movies, I would say most of them have been reviewed on. Right. And we do have a Christmas movie hub on there. So, and if they're on this list, and we've reviewed it, it's probably there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're watching this on YouTube later and you like this, leave a like, subscribe to see more, and leave a comment below if you have any thoughts on any of the movies we kind of touched on here.
Right. Or if you have a favorite drive-by film, leave a comment. All right. So until next time, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.